who is this?
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
With the above VTT, which connects to D&D Beyond. So you have D&D Above and Beyond, right? And it's free to use, plugs into D&D Beyond. A year ago, it was a bit unstable and not that great when I first tried it, although it showed a lot of promise. But I've been using it a little bit more recently, and they seem to have fixed most of the problems with it. And because it only runs 5th edition, it doesn't run any other game system, so it only has to run 5th edition. And
well, it's interesting you say that, but we were using that at Mammoth to run tests.
Really?
So they were, I guess, home brewing their monsters so they could run them on there.
Well, you can homebrew monsters in D&D Beyond, and because everything that you do in D&D Beyond plugs directly into the VTT. So it's pretty awesome from that point of view. It's really simple. It's really clean. It looks nice. It's a beautiful tabletop.
It is a good service, I have to say, when it comes to VVT. I'm bad with the letters. All right, Amber, are you back with us yet? Because Russell and I are having a show.
I'm back.
Whether you're here or not.
Can you hear me?
Are you just running the board back there? Are we having a show? Are we recording a show?
I'm here.
Hello, anyone? Josh, Amber.
I'm here.
I keep seeing Amber freeze and stuff.
She freezes, she moves, we get,
I'm not sure we should go if we're actually not getting recorded. I'm not sure what's actually going on. Amber, are you with us? Does she have any messages in Discord for us? Okay. Don't see anything.
Well, I'm going to wait till I'm told what to do, basically.
I'm on Facebook and can hear me fine. But you guys hear me on a big delay. But that's why you got to get off Facebook and come into Streamlabs. That's what I'm saying. That's where our mistake is. You can't be monitoring us on Facebook. Okay? Are you with us in Streamlabs yet? All right, she's off Facebook now, but I guess she's running the board, so we're still broadcasting, and we're going to go into our nerd news and keep going.
So what's the news?
So she's busting the new thumbnail. I'm going to let her talk about that one. She was talking about different trailers. She wanted to discuss different trailers. My big one is the Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess the big news is it's going to be the first Marvel movie to drop the F-bomb. And they're really just going back to the old canon of the blue uniforms, and when I guess it really made a resurgence in the millennia. And the comic book fans did not like the blue uniform, but it seems to be getting well received. So I'm kind of interested where Gunn is taking this whole storyline. And it also goes along with the Marvel, how that Spider-Man with all the different realities.
Okay, right. I don't know if they can hear me.
That Guardians of the Galaxy storyline had many different realities sort of crash into each other at the same time. So looking forward to that being definitely, part of the plot of that coming out. And then, of course, Star Wars, Carrie Fisher was honored with her Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame.
Wow.
And I thought it was really interesting because I was, a fan back in the day.
Am I on the Streamlabs link?
And they had R2-D2 and C-3PO and Darth Vader got to put their feet in cement on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but they didn't actually get stars.
Yeah, I'm really
How did R2-D2 put his feet in the? That doesn't.
They actually lifted him up. Like they had all these people like lift him and put him down. And like I remember watching this as a kid. This was like huge. This is like huge for me. I'm not supposed to sway away from the mic. I don't have my hexagon to stay in my space. And it's funny because the other thing that I find really interesting about it
Discord
is
open. I have my
Anthony
notes.
Daniels
I
is
have
the
the
only actor
Streamlabs,
that got his
and then I have
name
Facebook on my
in the
phone.
cement
But even
that
if I
day.
shut those
Huh.
down, it didn't
So I
help.
really felt weird that they left off Kenny Baker's name. He didn't get a credit for being R2D2. And then the Darth Vader feat,
Stop the screen share. And
Primrose,
they
David
won't be able to see what's
Primrose,
going
you
on,
know,
but
the
I'll stop
great
it.
monster character actor, he wrote Darth Vader in the cement instead of his own name.
Huh.
So that's kind of a neat thing. You know, making this big deal about Carrie Fisher having her star now.
Right.
But when you look back at, you know, they put the droids for the kids maybe, but they just put them in the cement. It's just kind of neat to me how that's all kind of moving forward.
Closed
Are you a
those.
Mandalorian fan?
I've seen the first season, I think. Have I seen? How many
Okay.
seasons are there now?
They're up to their third season.
I must have seen the second season. Welcome back.
We're ignoring you while you're back because we're into the nerd news now. You watching Mandalorian or what?
Sorry, what, Josh?
I don't think she's back. I just asked
I
her a
don't think
question.
she's not proper back. She's semi
Sorry,
back.
I'm hearing them, and I'm
Yeah,
hearing
I mean,
you.
I quite liked it. I saw the Halo series around about the same time, and I preferred
can't hear what you're
preferred
saying,
Halo,
Josh.
to be honest.
Really? You're
Yeah.
back with us?
What about the stream screen?
There seems to be a big delay when you do stuff, Amber. Whatever you say or do seems to be
On
staggered
Streamlabs?
or jagged, and there seems to be delays between each sentence.
I don't know how it's the desktop app.
Technical,
like transition
technical issues.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, Mandalorian. They had their
Mandalorian.
season 3 finale.
I'm still frozen.
Right? Was it good?
Well, I think the big thing is, you know, it started. You saw season 1, so I'm glad I'm talking to you. It had a very spaghetti Western style. What's the plot? Where's the story going? Right.
Right.
Now by season 3, you're totally entrenched in the showrunners, you know, roots in Clone Wars and all the stories they're building around for Disney Plus.
Right.
Without giving spoilers out to anybody.
Right.
They've even fed on the internet now that the actual title Mandalorian may not stay as the guy in the silver armor.
Huh.
Because there are more Mandalorians who are on the show. So does he stay the lead Mandalorian? Like, who does the title refer to? Just because the show started with him,
try that,
it may not end with him. So they've alluded to that too.
Like
so it's kind of
talk?
interesting. But that Disney's got so much going on with Star Wars, they have nothing to worry about or fear.
Yeah, no, I would actually watch season 3, but I don't have any way of watching it at the moment. I'm on Netflix, but I don't have Disney.
Well, it's funny you say that because I also I like limit my what I have access to because of, you know, economics or whatever.
Yeah.
I just got my season 13 of Doctor Who. So I'm just cutting into that with the Flux. I am very, very intrigued. Have you seen that at all?
No, I don't know. When you say season 13, I take it you're not talking about season 13 from way back with Tom Baker.
No, but I know that season too. I mean, I could talk about that season if you wanted to.
Right. That's what I grew up with Tom Baker. And I got as far as the first few episodes of what is her name? The lady that took over Doctor Who.
Yeah,
a couple of years back.
I don't know. I don't. That's I say that's the one actor that still eludes me when it comes.
Yeah, I really like her, and I think she's a great actress. And I've seen her in some other things that were really good. And what I didn't like, I felt like the move to cast her was awesome, and she was great as Doctor Who. But I found the companions, too many companions, too much pandering to the group, and not enough Doctor Who.
Yeah, I believe
one companion.
I think they followed that Peter Davison after Tom Baker. Let's give him a family. Let's give him a cast so the show stays supported.
Right.
And she didn't need that. I don't think her character needed that. And it's interesting how the Flux episodes have been being written.
Right.
And the storylines are kind of weaving differently than regular episodes too. So,
Right.
Amber, are you back with us yet? And are we actually having a show?
I hear her chatting to Josh in the background.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering.
Yeah. 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 I mean, the last movie I saw at the cinema was the D&D film. Actually,
What'd you think?
I
That's great.
really liked it. I really liked it.
I did too.
I think they did a great job. It was exactly what was on the name of the can. You know, they gave you all the tropes that you were expecting, both the modern tropes and the D&D tropes. So that was all good. I mean, the performances were good. The story was what it was. It actually was better than I expected for what it was, to be honest. Chris Pine's character had a bit of an arc, and there was some tragedy in there, and I didn't expect there to be any tragedy because it was going to be a blockbustery action adventure thing.
That's true. That's true.
You know, it was a little bit darker than I expected, which was nice because I like my D&D dark.
See,
frankly.
my daughter claimed that as a Disney franchise thing right there. Dead wife.
Right.
Amber, we can hear you coming into the stream a lot, just so you know. Are you with us? I enjoyed it as much too. I think one of the hallmarks was after taking my daughter, because I taught her and her Girl Scouts how to play. That was another one of my recovery things when I got back to DMing. And I took her. We saw it, came back home, telling her mom about it, and then she said, "Dad, can we go back and see it in the movies again? I want to bring some friends."
Nice.
To me, in the world of millennials streaming, and it's going to be streaming next week, you know, you could be watching it next week in your house. I thought that was really cool that my daughter was like, "Hey, Dad, let's go see it in the movies again with my friends." So,
yeah, that is cool. I mean, the cinema is almost redundant at the moment to me. You know, I will very rarely go to the cinema. The only movie that I really missed out on in the last year was June. I would have, or as you say in America, Dune. Every time I say June, everyone's like, "What? What are you talking about?"
No, we don't say it that bad. It's not that bad.
I would have liked to have seen that at the cinema, but sadly I was not able to. So yeah. But anyway,
and it's funny. It's funny because before the pandemic, this is funny. You're talking about the cinema. My daughter, we always had like different types of birthdays, and she was a Disney Descendants fan.
Okay.
And we did not have Disney Channel. We're talking about access to media, right?
Right.
And it was going to premiere on Disney Channel, but it was also going to be released on DVD the same weekend. It was going to be on Disney Channel. Okay. And it was her birthday weekend. It's like destiny, right? So I have the DVD pre-ordered. We rented a movie theater, and we had all her friends come to the movie theater and watch Descendants 3 in the movies.
Wow.
And it was a pack, like all her friends wanted to be at this thing. And it was just before pandemic too. So it was like a great social gathering for like all.
You probably caused the pandemic.
Yeah, I may. Hey, that's why I'm called Dr.Pletorius.
Right. Hilarious. So what have you been playing lately?
I have been playing a 5e adaptation of Mask of the Red Death.
Okay, what is Mask of the Red Death?
It's a spin-off of Ravenloft, but it's set in the 1890s.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's set in the real world and not Ravenloft.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
But I guess when it was originally designed, when it was originally designed, it was using that rule set in the 90s.
Right.
And remember I was telling you about my buddies who bought all these different games. The guy who bought Ravenloft also bought Red Death because at that time it used the same rule set.
Right.
And then he found that someone had written an adaptation for 5e and said, we got to play this again. And pulled out the old New Orleans maps. And we've been in New Orleans. The one player is a rag picker. I am a...
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter.
All right. Everybody's all good. We're
Yes?
here.
Well, good. Yay.
No, I don't
Okay.
believe it.
I
don't
know. I
believe it.
almost don't
It's
want
hard to
to.
believe.
I don't believe it.
All right. So I'm just gonna do one more thing here.
You
Let's
can't do
see.
any one more thing if we're all here.
I'm
We're all here.
afraid.
What was
All
that
right.
noise? I just heard another noise.
Well, now I'm sharing so you guys can see the chat and interact.
Uh-huh.
All right. So everybody's good. I think we're good. I'm not frozen. Okay.
Yeah, that's very. Yeah, I see. Okay,
Uh-oh.
gotcha.
She's starting to freeze up again.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if she needs to. I don't know if you need to share that
Yeah, I
with
think
us.
I'm gonna share
Okay.
that chat.
Don't
All right.
share that with us. We
No
don't need
sharing.
Yeah,
that.
that's what's screwing it up.
And it's
That's
too
what it
tiny
is.
for us to see what's going on anyway.
Yeah.
You can let us know. Upright Man's with us. I know he's with us.
Okay.
Is he gonna flip the angel around to the other side?
Flip the angel.
He didn't
to
say.
the
He
other
didn't
side?
say. Yeah, he was showing me something in the Discord, and I said, "You gotta flip this thing."
Okay. Apparently, I
flip that
can't
thing.
touch anything else. Thank you, Upright Man.
Excellent. Thank you, Upright Man. You got it straight.
All right. So
All right. So if you're
were
just
we
joining us,
while I
we're a
was trying to
tabletop
deal with all
talk
that?
show podcast. Do you hear me? Do you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're a tabletop structure podcast brought to you by Dungeon Studios. We go beyond live play and deep dive into every topic from session zero to campaign heroes with lively debates, thoughtful analysis, and plenty of laughs. Our weekly podcast is the perfect companion for any D&D fan. We stream live and interact on our chat Facebook Mondays whenever we get the goddamn thing working, all right? And
Right.
tonight we have a new co-host joining us. And on our show, he was with us for episode 6. Everybody, let's welcome our professional dungeon master. I am not going to say what you wrote there.
He is
From
a
the-
token
our
Kiwi, and he said it was okay to say.
Yeah, I'll be a token Kiwi. It's no problem.
Russell. I wasn't going to say it. I couldn't say it.
I'm
Welcome,
proud to
Russell.
be a
Welcome,
token
Russell.
Kiwi. It's fine. It's fine.
Russell and I sort of had a session 0 on the show earlier, having a little discussion. So
Nice.
Right.
All
Well, thank you
right,
for
so now
welcoming me.
that we're all
Thanks
caught up.
you for the opportunity. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you guys
Amber,
started getting
you're breaking
getting
up
into
again.
things.
Ah. Okay. Well, where are we at?
Well, you guys were in the middle of
All right,
talking
I got
about
to
the
ask
D&D
Amber.
movie.
No.
Movie.
We're gonna stop that. I want to go to this retcon rewind because
Okay.
when we didn't have you earlier on the show, I don't know what you're talking about here. You had something here.
Right.
You have Enron game. Is this discussing the Enron campaign that
Right.
just went down?
Right. So last time we were on, it was just me, and I was sharing about the Dungeon Studios campaign that's going on in the Discord server. And I had a little
Right.
write-up with a summary, and there were all these races and classes, and I'm still new to Dungeon Studios, so I didn't know what some of these were. However, because I'm working on the Enron Chronicles, and we are tacking on this new section at the end for the fantastical geographic piece, and we are doing a whole spotlight on
Right.
the Droton area and the Zenithil. So I started learning a little bit about that. They're super cool. I wanted to share with everyone what I learned. And then there was mention of a Shattered Reaper, a Skirgalesh combat medic. I had no idea what any of these were.
All right. So you got a couple things there. I'll go over it real quick.
Yeah.
So Shattered is in that world of Enron itself has been shattered. So you can pick any race and your race can be shattered. So you can pick a 5e race like human and have a shattered human.
Okay.
Okay. Or you can have a shattered dwarf. So does that, I'll say species. Sorry, I said race. Oops, sorry. 1E there. Sorry, my old 1E squeaking out. Now, Reaper is a class.
Okay.
That they're still working on.
Right.
So a shattered Reaper, it might be a shattered human Reaper. So
and Shattered, from what I understand, is like they have like wild magic in them when they were like
coursing in
conceived.
them, yes.
Yeah, and they
Possibly
have
when
like
they were conceived or their parents were exposed to it or whatever. And
right,
then there's different skills. Like some are called, I think, gravitons, and they can manipulate gravity.
right.
Some have telepathic abilities. Gosh, there's one more. I can't remember what it is offhand.
And now I think I read they have like like not veins, but something about their physical appearance. I think it was like
Right,
they
like
kind of have
their
veiny.
blood
Yeah.
can be wild magic, so it can glow. Like you can see their veins glowing with the wild magic in their
Yeah.
veins, kind of thing. I think it's the way it was supposed to be
Cool.
set up.
Right.
And these are still kind of being put together for the Droton book
Right.
right
But
now.
so
Now
I'm
the
working on this.
Skirgalesh.
Oh, I wanted to touch base on the Zenithil real quick because I am
Okay.
finding it very fascinating. This species, because it's something about being up in the Droton area where it's so cold. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like they reserve their breath because there's warmth that comes out when they talk. And so something about if they're talking with someone on their equal level, they will use the right amount of breath to talk. Like they'll use their words. But if they're talking with someone that's maybe beneath them in rank, they will not use as many words, maybe like single word sentences or some kind of a sign language because they don't want
Sign
to
language.
use
There we
right
go.
because
Sign language.
they don't want to use their breath and their warmth,
Okay.
on someone who's
Interesting.
however
I did not know that. I did
right.
not
This
know
is
that
all the
about them.
stuff I'm learning because I'm working on the fantastical geographic piece. But
Right.
when it comes to children, if it's like a mother or father child relationship, they will use their words and their warmth and their breath because they're protecting their child and keeping their children warm. So in their tribal domiciles, there will be like tents or huts or something where the kids are all kind of congregated and people will use their words and their breath more because that area is warmer for the kids. They'll keep it warmer for the kids by using their breath. It was really fascinating to read about the Zenithils, so I'm really looking forward to getting that fantastical geographical piece out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now the Skirgalesh.
Yeah, tell me about the Skirgalesh.
The Skirgalesh, that is the Eneron version of the Shadowfell or Ravenloft, our dark realm. The Volume 2 Adventures is Rise of the Raven Lord introduces that the Skirgalesh and that whole our evil shadowy realm.
Mm-hmm.
Now Combat Medic is another class that was being tested. I'm not sure if that's coming out in Droton or another settings book, but they may be testing it out because this is in the Eneron campaign you were talking about, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
So-
they just had things go sideways in their last campaign. I'll say this real quick before we even get into the weekly updates. They had a barbarian who was really not listening to anybody or the
That's
DM or the other players, and there was a huge pit, and he just said, "I jump in the pit." And the DM was just stuck with the what the hell do I do? This barbarian just jumped in a pit, and I've been talking about this on the game before with pushing someone off the tower in Ravenloft, in Castle Ravenloft, how far this fall was going to be. They're going to be dead. It's the only way you can die in 5e is a huge fall. You're going to die. You can't unless you have some kind of magical means. But they have a built-in do-over card, I guess, in their pocket. So the players ended up playing that for the barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the session all in all left a very bitter taste in everyone's mouths. But, it happens. And, we talked about it. And I said I would bring it up on the game just to say, you have those games. You got to have good games and bad games just to have good podcasts and bad podcasts, right?
Right. It's one
don't
of those
balance each
things
other out.
where, as a player, you learn to pick up on your party's cues, their questioning of what are you doing? And then maybe as the other players learning to like, insert themselves more to like, I can't let this happen. It's a learning point for everyone.
As a new person here, am I allowed to ask questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead. Interrupt any time.
With your play testing, because I'm play testing Dragonlance at the moment with some players, and I've kind of asked them to be difficult. I've asked them to play difficult,
to kind of break
like
the
not
game.
as try to break the game a little bit, not obviously not too much because we're trying to get through it, but at the same time, they're not making necessarily the best tactical decisions all the time. They decided to assault Wheel Watch outpost in a way, for example, that might not have been conducive to stealth. They were sort of sneaking in there. All they had to do was wind down a winch, basically, and open up some doors. And of course, they climbed over the wall as a big group. They clattered through the place. They set off alarms, and next thing you know, there's this fucking horde of enemies on them. And I had at least one player actually.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying about pushing it. This barbarian, this was not like pushing the test.
Right. This was just being kind of
completely not paying attention. Now, I've been in a test where, again, a barbarian ran into a dragon's lair because he's the bar. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run right in there, and we got that. This was not
what my character would do.
Right. It was not. It was not that scenario either. And I think the player may have also been, depends where the player's head was at. I think they weren't listening. Sometimes your head is not in the game. You thought you heard something. You thought something was somewhere. I know I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And, often as a DM, you'll say to them, hey, you sure you want to do that? Or do you mean to recap what's going on? And sometimes it's like, now, just to be clear, this is what's going on.
And that was given to him. And that was actually given to him. It's like, you really want to do that? No. And I think all the other players were caught off guard. We're just like,
right.
And then all of a sudden it happened and the DM's like, okay. But then they had the do-over trip. So we can go on from there as a do-over, and then we'll get a new update from them. I think the other one is they're kind of a new group. So they're also still gelling socially with like who's taking the notes, who's really paying attention, who's the meat shield.
Right.
They're still kind of getting the feel for that.
Right.
Too,
figuring out how their group's going to gel tactically and right.
And I think the barbarian thought, I'm just going to go in here and kill everything for everybody, but not get myself killed,
Right. They weren't a new player, were they?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Were they an experienced player or a relatively new player?
I think they're experienced players. I wouldn't say they're super experienced players, but I think they're a new group.
Right.
And new DM, and everybody's sort of feeling everybody out for the first time too. There may be only 2 or 3 sessions in, and they're already like not in a standard situation because it's a journey across. I forgot. Oh God, he told me the title of it, and I forgot.
All good. I don't want to derail your.
We can cover it next week in Retcon Rewind.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So
did
now,
you guys cover
now
news?
You had no, we left the new thumbnail for you. I didn't want to talk about my own thumbnail.
Oh, okay. Wait, are you talking about the picture of the walk?
Yeah, the little hexagon. Is it this way or is it down there?
Okay.
I don't know which side. Whichever side it's on.
All right. So you guys mentioned trailer drops briefly. We don't need to go deep into that.
Tell us about Witcher and season. We did not talk about Witcher and Dune. Are you into these? Is that why they were on the list for you?
Oh, yes.
All right. Yeah,
nothing really
I'm
to
not
talk
a Witcher.
about that there. I just wanted to mention that the trailers dropped. They're super exciting, especially for people who love Dune. Like, we finally get to see them ride the sandworms, very exciting.
Well, I don't know about you, but the trailer I saw had him get on the sandworm, but we didn't actually see much of the sandworm itself.
Right.
Like, maybe I've seen the wrong trailer.
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see the sandworm, and I'm sure that's something they're probably holding back for the wow factor when you go see it in the theater. But
Yes.
Or possibly they haven't rendered it yet.
Maybe.
They're still putting all the post-production together at this point, I suspect.
I was saying,
Right.
how
Even
dark?
shooting it.
I'm thinking, how dark can we make this special effects scene? That seems to be the big thing now. How dark can we make it?
And
What do you
still
mean by
be kind
dark?
of,
Like creepy?
legible on the screen.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of special effects films are hidden by darkness.
Oh.
The scenes are done specifically at night.
Yeah.
So we can try to get away with a little bit more special effect without you seeing it, because we can just put a silhouette in there.
And without running into the Game of Thrones issues.
Game of Thrones issues.
Yeah, well, those episodes towards the end of the last season, I understand where people just couldn't see what was going on because
They get so dark.
it was shot too dark.
Yeah.
There was not enough lighting, or they underexposed it. I think it was all done on purpose, but I haven't seen those episodes, to be honest. I missed the last season of Game of Thrones, but anyway.
A lot of people talked about that with Lord of the Rings, actually, because that a lot of that color stuff was,
very muted. Yeah,
it was new and being really generated there. I think it was used very effectively.
Now I understand they've replaced Henry Cavill.
Yes.
As the Witcher. Is that true?
Yes, but season 3 does have him. Yes, I feel like that's a mistake. But if you played the video games, The Witcher does change, the main character. So it could be fine. I don't know.
Well, as we were talking about, we were just talking about that with The Mandalorian, that there's the discussion that the title does not necessarily refer to
Mando.
What's his name? To Mando.
Yeah.
That it could be Bo-Katan, or it could be someone, it could even be Grogu.
Yeah.
As part of it. The other one I thought was in here was you have the Flash.
Yes.
The Michael Keaton Batman.
So if you've seen the trailer, this, at least in my nerdy circle, seems to be the big wow, because there's been so many Batmans and, going through all the different iterations of them. But with the new Flash trailer, you're seeing Michael Keaton's Batman, and it seems like they're introducing some kind of a multiverse with other Batmans in there. You see Ben Affleck, he's in there. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it was kind of exciting for some people that love Michael Keaton.
I heard you, Russell. I heard that, Russell.
What was the?
Sorry.
Now, I think one of the most important things to understand here is Flashpoint, which was a really huge DC comic crossover event for Flash, and then they used it in the series and everything, and now they're going to try to use it in the movies. Everybody is retroconning their entire canon.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much Deadpool 3 is going to retcon all the X-Men movies and all the old Marvel stuff. So now DC is just doing, they've been Coke and Pepsi in the pulps. Now they're Coke and Pepsi in the cinema. That's really what it's turned into.
Yeah.
And we were saying Guardians of the Galaxy is going to have the F-bomb.
Yeah, I kind of heard you guys talking about it.
The thing I'm really looking forward to there is the different multiple realities, because Star-Lord is a guy that wears big bubble things and has like Hawk helmet, and his ship he talks to, and he has a remote control probe that drives around with him. That was the first Star-Lord that was in the graphic novels. So to see where they've mutated into Chris Pratt's character, what it's turned into, and what they do. And then supposedly they're doing the same thing in that, where you're going to see all these different comic iterations. Multiversal stuff seems to be really folding down. Now, we always talk about the show and redoing things. Strange New Worlds. This is not here. Season 1 ended, right? Really big, was well received, but they're talking about it being a ripoff of some French writer.
Oh, really? I haven't watched the show yet. Do you watch that, Russell?
No, I haven't, unfortunately.
Now, again, doesn't say Paramount. I'm shut out of Paramount right now. I just finished Picard season 2, and season 3 just finished, which I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know anything. Mm-hmm. But again, that's that was really well received in the last week. If you want to talk about nerd news, people seem to eat that up, but that really turned into the old Nards getting to see all the next gen cast come back together,
Right.
and be on a ship together. So
Yeah.
that's all I need to say about that. We
Right.
talked about Carrie Fisher and her star.
Oh, you did?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yep. Now, did you know that the droids had their feet put in the cement and Darth Vader back when the movie first came out?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. And then we were talking about how Anthony Daniels got to write his name in the cement, but they did not let Kenny Baker, which is kind of like cheesy.
Yeah.
And then David Primrose, who played Darth Vader and was in the costume. I don't even know. Maybe he wasn't in the costume for the footing at Hollywood. I have to look into that more.
Yeah.
That's possible. Maybe Anthony Daniels was the only one that showed up. That'll go in stuff I didn't remember.
Yeah, well,
Next
let's look
time.
that up.
All right. Now you're into Pinkerton. What's this thing?
Have you not heard anything about
yes.
this? Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Okay.
I have.
Okay.
Do you know who the Pinkertons are, first of all?
Well, that's what I was hoping. Doc's really good at the history, but if you know, you can tell me. So here's the news, is that I guess there was some early leak of Magic the Gathering cards, and a YouTuber
the guy
was talking about it.
They sent him the
and
wrong pack.
shortly after, the Pinkertons showed up to retrieve these cards sent by Wizards of the Coast. And apparently Pinkerton has some history, which, Russell, if you want to take that, I don't know about them.
Well, from what I can gather, the Pinkertons were a security firm. They've been around for like over 100 years. And what security firm? They're basically mercenaries. Mercenaries, bodyguards, that type of stuff, private security. Yeah, they've been accused of everything from union busting to kidnapping to murder over the 100 years or so that they've been around. Now, I'm not suggesting that they are actually like that now. They might be very different, but they have a history of this. So choosing them specifically with this rather tarnished reputation might have been a bit of a mistake. Right. The other thing that's interesting is that the head of security, now I might have my facts wrong, but feel free to fact check this, but I believe that the head of security at either Wizards or Hasbro, one of those two, used to be the former head of security for the Pinkertons. So
that makes a lot of sense.
The fact that they hired them suddenly falls into place.
That makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I understand the guy's wife was crying. He was upset. The whole thing was just a disaster, and they really could have done this very differently.
They could have. And just poor timing, because they just seem to keep making these missteps after missteps. They're not doing themselves any favors.
OGL thing, yeah.
Now I've seen another strange YouTube mutation because of this.
Okay.
I was saying about something we don't have in the nerd news. So Professor Dungeon Master is getting accused of being a clickbait guy for talking about Wizards of the Coast too often. So then he puts out this video to show the 28 videos that he's done, and that like 3 of them or 4 of them, whatever the number is about Wizards of the Coast. One of them is about this Pinkerton thing that he covered. And then he just made a video recently, and you can't comment on it. And it's a video about all his videos this month because YouTube is promoting the clickbait stuff. So his Pinkerton videos are getting billions and billions of hits. They're getting him more followers. They're getting more views. They're going on more people's feeds. So this thing is sort of feeding itself. And I still, Russell, think that part of this is them. They know what they're doing. They're generating their own story. Let me put it. What comes up on my cell phone now?
Well, if I was
Magic the Gathering cards, Hitman shows up at Magic the Gathering cards. That's for people who aren't even watching Dungeons and Dragons.
when it comes to sort of conspiracy theory things, I tend to think, if I was the most nefarious person that I can think of, what would I do? And if I can think of it, then probably somebody else has. And if I was in charge of YouTube and so forth and their algorithm, I would most certainly take your money in order to fuck with my algorithm so that your shit came up first.
Yeah.
I would definitely take your money for that reason. And if I would do that, I don't have any doubts anybody else would do it.
And I think Professor Dungeon Master, and we've had guests on here talk about this. No Fun was on here. He does a lot of Ravenloft reviews and stuff. He says, once you go out of your lane on YouTube, you screw yourself. No one sees your videos. And that's why I was saying, to me, come on and do this podcast. I'm just doing a podcast. I don't care who's viewing me.
Right.
It's about the game and not about the, who we are and who's following.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a YouTube channel. It's very, very small, and 95% of it is game videos of sessions that I've run for my clients, and it's there for them primarily, and for anybody that wants to see a game if they're considering coming on board with one of my games.
Well, and that becomes an issue if you're a DM and you start to do videos about gaming.
Right.
You screw yourself because you already have a fan base watching gameplay, not about videos. So it's really weird how it gets all mushed
and I
up.
do both. I mean, I've got games videos on conditions and how to play D&D and so on and so forth. And so
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But you
Any
can't.
other news
you can't
this
care.
week? Any other news this week from you guys? Because I know we had a whole extra week that we didn't get in the notes. Anything
No,
else
not
you
that I can think
up?
of.
For once, Wizards of the Coast did not screw up.
I was going to say this week.
That's
this
the
week.
news. The news.
Newsworthy.
Breaking story
Breaking
here.
news. Wizards does not screw up their own reputation any further than they already have.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so did I hear
Oh my
you
gosh.
guys start touching on your week in games? Were you guys talking
Yes,
about
I was talking about my Mask of the Red Death game with Luigi and the monkey. And I was telling Russell about there was a rag picker named Quinto, and there's Shrike. I always say her name wrong. It's a bird, a songbird. Shrike.
Shrike?
And she's
Sounds
an opera.
right.
She's an opera singer. She uses that as her name. She's an opera singer. She's also gotten caught up in this whole thing. We started following what we thought was the spirit of Jack the Ripper, getting into bodies of people. And then we found this box with heads in it that led us out to the bayou. And we went out to the bayou and ended up in this swamp, like treehouse thing, tied up by Billy Bob. They were going to eat us. It was bad. I mean, the whole thing was bad. And my character, Luigi, got second sight with his monkey. So sort of got the powers of find familiar through his monkey. And his monkey sort of ran around the treehouse, figured out what was going on for all of us. Quinto was able to break our bonds and get us out. And we took on this like crazy, wacky family in the woods. I even think the grandma in the big treehouse might have been a lich of some type. But we got our hands on dynamite. We were throwing dynamite in houses and blowing stuff up and everything.
Can't lose with dynamite.
At some point, no, you can't lose with dynamite. But at some point, somebody ran out of the house and shot my character in the face with a scatter gun. And I end up going down to 0 hit points. And there's a thing in this game, you get a catastrophic injury. And I love mechanics and rules. So I was like, oh, come on. I want the catastrophic injury. I want it. What is it? Roll it. So the DM rolls it. It's like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. I rolled a 100. And I'm like, yeah, what's a 100? What's a 100? And he's like, no, dude, you can't do this to you. I'm like, no, you rolled it. I said I wanted it. You rolled it. What is it? I now have a gruesome visage. So now anyone who sees him has to do a horror check.
Wow.
So then we got to this whole discussion about this show with a guy who wears a mask.
Mm-hmm.
This Hitman, Boardwalk Empire. There was a show. got a character who had to wear this mask, a hitman, who you sort of have sympathy for him because he's a mask. But no, I'm like totally into my character now because now this is all New Orleans. So they went back to this doctor who's still linked to this spirit of Jack the Ripper for help to like fix his face. So now we're somehow involved with him. And then they've just handed him a Mardi Gras mask to use right now.
That's perfect.
To cover his, yeah, because we're in New Orleans. So
Hilarious.
it's really, really kind of cool. And my buddy Frank and I have a great time playing two Italian immigrants.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but the Mallorca. Oh, no. We're like faking our Italian accents and just screaming at each other. And the woman's like, they're both idiots. And we're having so much fun with it. It's great. It's great.
Hilarious.
That's
I never get to
awesome.
play anything. I'm just dungeon mastering constantly.
You're the forever DM.
See, Russell, now I have to say this. Our group, we have forbidden forever DMing. And everybody's always got to take a turn and keep, rotating. And the guy playing Quinto is going to take over. We're going to be playing 5e next. And we rotate in the middle, too, to give our games like a break. So we can come back to it later. And we're going to be doing Icewind Dale. So I'm excited about that. Now, the other thing I don't have on here in my weekend games was that last time I was on, I said I put my Chronic Explorers to bed. Because remember, I said one of my players was really sick still. Do you remember this? Were you here for this, Giddes?
I don't know.
I don't know. This might even been when Merwin was around.
Mm-hmm.
We went on a hiatus. Well, today was the day I got IVIG, and I decided to post again anybody beginners interested in learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons, because I thought it'd be really cool, while this guy is sick and recovering, have another party go out into the forest that they're already campaigning in, and they're lost in a cave. Try to find them in the cave.
Okay.
So when he gets better, the two parties can all sort of like come together, and these will all be people who are recovering beginner players. It's kind of a neat thing, I thought.
Cool.
And today's response, I got 3 people interested in wanting to play on Dr. Pletorius's Chronic Adventurers. So I'm very excited that campaign may get started again.
Good.
Awesome.
So I had to make that announcement tonight. So, hooray.
There you go. Great work.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about that.
All right, so let's hear about inside this. You were inside a dragon turtle, were we not?
The game that I run, yes, my players were inside of a dragon turtle. They're looking for 2 things inside of the dragon turtle. One is there's a lost tome that has been what they understand.
I saw a map for an interior of a dragon turtle. Was that you?
That was me.
Yes, that is her map.
I shared it on our page. That map is technically for a Tarrasque, and I just reskinned it as a dragon turtle.
Cool.
But the tome is supposed to tell them how they can seal the big bad evil guy away at the end. That it was the chronicles of the first set of adventures that tried to do it and didn't do it correctly. And so they're looking for this tome. And then inside the dragon turtle is also a lantern, which is like a relic. There's 5 of them that are souls of the original dragons. Did we lose Doc?
Doc just dropped out.
Oh,
he's coming back. But now all the pictures are going to change.
Right. Let me
he's in the right place. That's good.
Doc, are you here?
I think it's...
I don't hear him.
The internet gods have not been supplicated correctly.
Doc, if you can hear me, redo your link. Your link. Let me send him a message real quick.
Yeah, so you've been inside a dragon turtle.
Not me, my party.
Goodness.
So
You're DMing.
I'm DMing. So my party found the place where the book was at the end of the last session. And I'd been trying to figure out how to run this session because where they're at is actually kind of like a demi-plane inside the dragon turtle. This is Ioun's territory. And if you watch Critical Role, I kind of fashioned the challenge to be like that. Have you seen campaign 1 of Critical Role?
I've seen series 1 of Critical Role.
Okay.
So I haven't watched it for a long time.
So fans of Critical Role may know about the library with Ioun scene, and it's this massive library that kind of makes you think of the movie Inception, where it's on the ceiling and all the walls, and it's all ends, and it's kind of like an Escher painting, and you can't tell what direction's up and down, and they're trying to find this thing.
Reminiscent of Labyrinth.
Yeah. Eventually, they find the area with the books, but now there's also a monster that they're fighting at the same time, and they have a time limit. So they have like 15 minutes. They're fighting a big monster and also trying to unlock this massive cabinet. In the cabinet is like 100 or so untitled books, pamphlets, scrolls, all kinds of things, and they're trying to figure out which one is the right one. They have to bring the right one to Ioun, and then she will say, if this is the correct one, then yes, you can have this. If it's not the correct one, everything kind of just gets all jumbled again, and the next person that comes along that's worthy can try. So what was great about this session, I don't know if Doc's trying to do the link. Sorry. Okay,
I see you
I'm just going to keep talking.
On Streamlabs, but not on the stream.
You see Doc?
I don't see Doc on Facebook stream, but I see him
Right.
here on Streamlabs.
Right. So I sent him a message.
I can.
Let's hope he can join. All right. So where was I? Okay, so they found the right book, or the pamphlet. It was a pamphlet, basically. And that's kind of where we had to leave it at, because we have hard stops in that game. Some people have to go home, make dinner, take care of kids, things like that.
Yeah.
So we have a hard stop. We're going to pick up again this week with kind of the role-playing part, them having access to Ioun, asking questions and what have you. But they still also have to find the relic in the dragon turtle. So we still have much more of this map that they have to go through. As far as the game that I play in, I thought I heard something. Last session that I played in, my character, we've been playing the same character, same game for 6+ years, and my character has not died ever until last session. And in the last session, they tried to revive me, but there was something like some dark aura around me, and for whatever reason, they determined that my soul is not there. They can't revive me. So they're on a quest to find my soul. And so they played this last weekend, and last weekend was my son's birthday. I told them I wasn't going to be able to make the session, but it worked out because I'm dead. And they have to go on a journey to be able to revive me.
Right.
So, but what we do is we have online notes, and I did kind of take a peek at the notes, even though my character is not supposed to know what's happening. All right.
Right. That's fair.
Link. This is interesting. He's trying to use the link. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
he's in now. He says he's in now. I don't see him.
Well, I see him in Streamlabs, but not
do?
yet in on the stream.
Okay.
He's not on the stream, but he's on Streamlabs.
Interesting.
On the Streamlabs
Let me try this again.
thingy that we use without links
Nope.
and so on.
Okay.
I can hear you, Doc.
Oh, here we go. This is why. Here we go. How about this? How you doing, Doc?
And
Are you back?
Doing okay. How you doing?
There we are.
I'm
Okay.
back.
and there he is.
All
He's
right.
back and proper.
I've
Good.
been here the whole time. I don't know where you guys are going. I've been having a show tonight. I don't know what's going on with the rest of you.
We're having
Right.
one of these shows today. So anyway, I took a peek at the show notes just to see what everybody did, and there were some really heartfelt moments, and I'm sad. Even though my character wasn't alive, I wish I was there in person just to be able to see what
Just a
the
fly on the
characters
wall.
did to try to revive me. But I'll find out whenever whenever I'm alive again.
Ah,
So, what about you,
fascinating.
Russell? You run games. Is there anything you can talk about that you want
Well,
to share?
I run. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, first of all, I've got two D&D games currently running. One of them, they tend to be named after the group tends to name their games. One of them is called Sunfall, and the other one is called The Burning Path. They're both set in my homebrew original campaign setting, Sidariel. And Sunfall presently, they've just gone into a Red Fangs camp outside the city of Vane Gate and slaughtered a bunch of Red Fangs in order to steal their giant bats, so that they can use the giant bats in a heist, whereupon they want to try and steal this ancestral weapon from this tower, where I think their plan is to go misty stepping through an arrow slit at like 200 feet in the air.
Nice.
Off a giant bat into the chamber where
Threading
this
the needle.
axe is that's been talking to one of the characters. Yeah, I'm not sure how they think they're going to get out of here, but that's going to be interesting. So they managed to steal the bats anyway. So that's one thing.
So these
The other
bats
campaign at the
are
moment is
riding bats? Like, do they have saddles?
yeah, they're
Okay.
giant. Yeah, well, these ones technically don't have saddles because the Red Fangs don't need them. They just fly them. The Red Fangs of Shargas. These are Orcan special forces from the Angkor Ma'ak Empire. So they're pretty mean bastards, and they're out chasing one of the main characters here, Murag, who's a barbarian gladiator orc, son of this famous rebel leader. Her name is Kagi Mingal, and she's rebelling against the patriarchal Orcan Empire. And so women of all races are flocking to her from across the world to join her in her cause. And so all patriarchies are getting very upset about this. So you can see there's kind of a feminist undertone going on here.
Yeah.
The other campaign was called Dagdagiel, which is the name of the city it's in, but that seems to be something nobody can say. So we can straight face.
That always happens.
Right.
Wait, did they make up a fake name?
No.
You don't like for it, because that's what my players
Yeah.
always make up fake names.
Oh, yeah, they just started calling it Dag and shit like that. So they decided that they're currently trying to start a rebellion against the Wizards of the Barakyle Envoy, who are more or less like the Red Wizards of Thay, but they're a little bit meaner in my opinion. And I've made a bunch of homebrew NPCs for the Red Wizards of the Barakyle Envoy. They're basically evil Catholics. Can I say that online?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want here. We have
Or you might even say they're normal Catholics.
We have no filter. Yep, I was going to say, yeah, not much difference there.
See if I've offended anybody yet. So yeah, they're starting up this rebellion against these Red Wizards of the Barakyle Envoy, who are running around putting mutated illithid tadpoles in the ears of any individual that they want to corrupt, basically, and they're sort of on the march to take over the world through diplomatic and other means, namely, insidious magic. So they're up against them, and presently they're in a reservoir above the city of Dagdagiel, going through what is essentially a dungeon, fighting a bunch of fiends and wizards, because the Barakyle Envoy wizards are clearly up to something with the water. And they've just encountered a new player character who's just joined the group, a halfling monk / celestial warlock. Now, have you ever had one of them before?
No,
because he's interesting. Because both his
I have had a halfling monk, but I don't think I multi-classed it out there.
Right. Well, his monk patron, his monk mentor is also his patron, who is a silver dragon named Azariah.
Yeah.
And so he's taken the path of the dragon monk thingy.
Right.
So he does like flaming dragon attacks, lightning dragon punches, and shit like that. So we're still figuring his character sheet out. As D&D Beyond it doesn't matter. There's just some confusion, but we ended up having to make up some rules to make it work because D&D Beyond wasn't playing nicely with his character sheet.
Hey, I do recommend if they're not playing nice with the character sheets, I'm going to say I've been playing with them for a while, 2 or 3 years now. Write them. Stuff gets changed on those character sheets rather quickly when they see somebody's trying to do something and they can appease players.
Right.
You know, as much as they get put down,
Right.
they've really done a lot.
Their team is amazing, and they're the same team that are working for free pretty much on the Beyond, the Above VTT. That's
right, exactly.
About that plugs into.
You can't put all those people down.
Not at all. I mean, I love D&D Beyond. Don't get me wrong. I really am a big fan of it, especially with the Above VTT. I'm going to be starting up my Twitch stream, my flagship campaign, which is with a group of actors called the Veingate Chronicles, which has been shut down for a few months. And we're going to come back with a bang, hopefully. We've got some art being produced, and we've got at least one new character to add to the campaign, and we'll be going in at level 9, bang, level 10 on the first episode, I'm hoping.
Nice.
So there should be a big...
when is your air for that? I know it's on Twitch and people can go to it anytime, but when do you air that usually?
Well, we originally started on Fridays. Now, of course, I'm in New Zealand, so I'm a day ahead of you guys and half a day behind or some shit like that, like 16 hours or something. So we're going to be streaming on Friday nights when we start up at 7 p.m. plus 12 GMT. So
right. And I basically figured out that I'm 12 hours always behind you, right? So
be 7 in the morning, I suppose.
Right. So if somebody really wanted to be there watching and got up in the morning, they're in. I'm in. I'm an early riser. I'm in.
And we also archive them. If you know, you can go back and watch a whole shit ton of them, both on Twitch. I archive them on Twitch, but I also export them to YouTube so that they're up there as well. So there's a whole playlist of previously streamed Veingate Chronicles going back to episode 1.
Have you been sharing them on the Discord too at Dungeon Studios?
I have not been doing that actually. I need to figure out this.
There's lots of share places, so you got to decide where you're going first. But
no, that's fair.
That makes sense because we can push it to Facebook too.
Sure.
Our Facebook page, we like to push our people, so we can work all that out.
I'm going to be rebooting my Vampire the Masquerade campaign shortly too. That is called The Legacy of Icarus, which is all about the Order of the Temple of Mars, who basically are an order of run by a very, very old vampire called Mardon, who was sired by Mars himself, apparently. And this order pretty much their objective is to survive the end of times, Gehenna as it's called in Vampire. And so they sort of recruit or make new vampires in order to support this cause of surviving Gehenna. And so there's a lot of espionage, special forces type stuff going on. And it gives me an excuse to place characters in positions of power where the player characters can become things like archons and things. And oversee stuff, and they're usually always undercover. So there's a lot of need for secrecy and so on. They get their bases blown up. One character had a helicopter land on him as it exploded at one point. People getting dropped through the tops of skyscrapers, and this doesn't include all the normal Vampire the Masquerade stuff that typically goes on too. So we'll be rebooting that shortly. That'll be on Sunday nights here in New Zealand. The Legacy of Icarus. Nice. And I have spots in that game if anybody is interested. It is run through Questbook, questbook.nz. Look up my storytelling page, Russell Kirkby.
Yeah, I was going to say this leads in perfectly to your segment and what you want to talk about today.
Right. Well, I want to talk about something a little bit controversial. For some people, not controversial for others at all. Paid dungeon mastering. Some people really object to it. And, I get it because I actually felt that way too a while ago. I thought, why would I pay somebody money when I can get one of my friends to be my DM, or I could just be the DM, And that's really true. And to be honest, I think that people who have friends that can DM, you shouldn't pay a dungeon master. It's fucking stupid. Why would you do that? But there are a lot of people out there who don't have access to DMs. And there's a lot of new players out there now, with 5th edition especially, or they live in places that are far away from groups of people where, you know, you pay your tennis coach, you'd pay your piano teacher, you'd pay anybody else for this type of the amount of work that goes into running a good campaign. And I'm not talking about, you know, your friend Joe in high school who pulls out the book and makes some shit up on the spot. I'm talking about a campaign that's been planned, and you know, the DM turns up and actually runs a planned session, and they may even have skills like, you know, improv skills. They might have been to acting school. They might have done other things that can sort of add to their repertoire. So I think in some cases it's kind of, there is a point to this, and the people that do pay for DMs tend to be professionals who are time poor, and the people that tend to complain about it tend to be people who have more time on their hands, and maybe they're not in the same economic bracket, you know, and that's fair enough. If I'm not in that economic bracket, even though I'm a paid DM. I can't afford to pay a DM myself, so I don't.
Right. Well, I think there's different levels of the experience too. I know I was looking into it at some point for myself, and I saw that it was, I forget which one it was. One of the tutoring sites was littered with homeschool moms running Dungeons and Dragons for kids.
Right.
But I didn't think that was what I wanted to do.
Right.
You know, run Dungeons and Dragons for kids and be teaching math along the way. I mean,
right.
There's so many different facets of it. And what you said about what you put into it, like when I meet with my group, we just meet on Zoom.
Right.
I wing a little campaign. I have some images ready. Like you said, you have a real acting background. I did some high school theater.
Right. Well, I mean, any experience is good experience in that respect. And there's plenty of paid DMs who don't have any experience, but what they're really good at is things like running Roll20 or knowing the rules. I play fast and loose with the rules, and my players argue with me about it all the time, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't see my role as being the person to know all the freaking rules. I especially don't need to know all the rules about your character. That's your job. You know, you tell me what your character can do. I don't have to learn all the fucking rules. Besides the fact that WotC changes the rules every 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I can't keep up with that shit. I'm here to tell you who all the NPCs are. I'm here to play the NPCs, to react to your, you know, what you do in the game. And my players appreciate that. They come to my game because I can run it seamlessly from a story point of view. They can do stuff without me having to go away and spend 5 minutes looking shit up. You know, that being said, I'm testing out Dragonlance at the moment, and I'm doing exactly that, running away and looking shit up, which is why I'm play testing it so I can make it my own.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm running it the whole thing through for a small group of people for free, who are brought from a pool of players who come from my client list. You know, it is a special thing for them, and they get to hang out and play Dragonlance for free because we're play testing it through while I figure it out. But when
that's another really good point you make, Russell, where your experience with the material, like I feel like after running Ravenloft, the first time I could never have like said to anybody, "Hey, can I charge you for this?" But now that I have the whole thing in my brain, that is that's a lot worth a lot when the DM has that whole concept wrapped together.
I've read this book twice now,
right?
You know, and it's not a thin book. It's not the thinnest book. It's definitely not the fattest book, but it's not a thin book. It's it's nearly 300 pages long, you know. And then there's so much stuff that's in there that's not in there, if you know what I mean. Encounters and whole scenes, you know. Discovering, for example, when I'm running it on Roll20, there's a scene where blah blah blah, and you go to the scene, and then there's nothing there. There's no map. It's like, oh, okay, I have to make this whole sequence up myself. They're just, you know, so I'm finding that I'm still making maps and doing stuff for it, even though it's a module.
Even though it's a module, right? Even though everything's there, right? Everything's supposed to be here.
And there's plot holes that I feel obligated to fix, you know, all of that type of stuff. Whereas when I'm running my own campaign, that's my own homebrew setting, I am able to either make it up on the spot and nobody will know because it's not in any book that they can look up.
Right.
Or I have spreadsheets, hundreds of spreadsheets, and they're all interconnected and linked to each other. And I have, monitors, and I'm like, I run live games too. I ran a game recently at the Auckland Games Fair. I ran a couple of games there, and I ran one-shots that I have run many times before, so I know them really well. I can draw the maps on the grid paper on the Chessex thingy, one of these things. Yes, yep. The map, with the water-based pens from memory.
Eraser map.
Yeah, exactly.
Dry erase.
So
dry erase.
Yeah, I mean, when you pay a dungeon master, you get someone that's basically going to turn up. First of all, they're not going to get drunk and not turn up. They're not going to be late. They're going to bring their planning and their time. They're going to bring you a level of quality that you might not expect from, because they've put some effort into this, and they might have experience with other skills. I've got a degree in writing and directing and acting for theater and film. I've spent years practicing sword fighting, and I directed some films myself, done lots of improv, and I bring all the resources that I have, all my D&D Beyond resources and books, which I share with you. You're getting all the stuff with it, and you're not paying any more than you would be paying for other probably, similar services in many ways. And people say, well, I want to play with my friends. Well, that's true. You can make new friends. Mm-hmm. All my clients I consider to be my friends. And people are like, well, how can they be friends if they're paying you? Well, they don't see it like that. They see themselves as supporting a dungeon master that they really like. That's the impression I get from them. And they do things. They buy me miniatures. They buy me fancy gold dice. One of them bought me the book for Dragonlance. They do these things because they love what you do. And that's, I don't know, it's not a sullied financial sort of transaction in my view. And besides which, I stay away from all of that anyway. I work for Questbook. They deal with the money.
And like you said, they would pay, what did you say, like, their karate teacher or this or that for the service. But usually those are like, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Like you're getting, several
you're
hours.
Getting 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well worth it.
Well, our world has become a pay for media service. There's nowhere to go and just play a video game anymore. You've got to have a computer system you're paying for, a streaming system,
right? And all the microtransactions.
I was about to say microtransactions. I don't do microtransactions, and I could. It's like, oh, you want a better sword? I'll charge you $1.
Right. So I mean, it's very, very interesting where it can go and how much you can put in. There's the professional DMs that do the model miniatures with the cameras. There's the ones that work strictly on VVTs. We were doing a story about a bar in New York that was looking for dungeon masters.
Right.
And I was wondering too, like if you go to a bar in New York, are you paying the dungeon master and the bartender, or is that like a gratis thing? Like,
well, I do a regular game at a place called Dice and Fork, which is a restaurant in Auckland, and it's every week. It's either a Tuesday or a Thursday. They switch days each week. And the bar takes basically Questbook, who's the company that I work for, and the bar they take a split, and then the DMs get a split from Questbook's amount. And for that particular session, to be honest with you, I usually end up buying dinner or something anyway. So the amount that I make usually covers dinner and my petrol.
Right.
So it barely pays for itself for me. But why? 2 reasons I do it. One is I love doing it. That's the primary reason. But the second reason is that I meet people there, and very often they come back and hey, can we do this? Can we keep playing this one shot? We want to keep playing these characters. We want to know what happens next. So they play a second episode the following week, and then the following week they come back again. And by that point, I'm like, well, you know what? I really want to play with some other people. How about you guys do a campaign? Why don't we get you on
Zoom? To form a campaign with that group.
And Right. And so you end up putting groups of people together who have never met each other before, and they all get together, they form a new group, they make friends, and now I've got 2 campaigns that have come out of that. With total strangers. They were strangers to each other when they met. Now that we're all good friends.
Yeah. No, and that's what we were talking about. The one woman who said, I want to learn how to play because I'm going to make some friends. That was the first thing she said. It wasn't even about Dungeons and Dragons. It was about making more friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so I don't want to cut your segment short. I want to make sure you can talk about everything that you want to talk about, but we do need to go to a break soon. So I just wanted to give you that heads up.
Oh, I'm largely done ranting. That you asked me to rant about something. I figured this was a good subject.
You know what? Before we go on our break, let me do the visit to the doctor's office real quick. I know Josh is probably telling you no. Let me do that, and then we'll come back, and then we'll just hit the topic. So everybody comes back, and they'll hit our topic.
Okay.
This week's doctor's office is really not the same as usual. This really came from Amber and Giddes had posted something in our Discord. I feel like it's weeks ago now.
Yeah, forever ago.
She had posted something about a model. It was a model of a bridge, and it had buildings on the bridge, right? Is that how this started?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to give people a little context. So I find strange things on the internet, and they constantly inspire me to put something into my game, and I share it on our Discord server or on Facebook or what have you.
Okay. And I also get very inspired by this kind of stuff when I see it. So I saw this thing and went, oh, and it reminded me of this illustration. It was actually an old illustration of London Bridge. Because Old London Bridge was actually a trading post where the marketeers set up their market stuff right there on the bridge, because that's where all the traffic went when they were crossing the Thames at the time. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was really, really interesting. And I guess I posted something to you about London Bridge being a trading post in the Discord. So then I'm like, no, this can't be the earliest sign of a trading bridge. Like, where is the first trading bridge? Like, I had to go back in time. Now, of course, I got to find my page because we were so busy shutting off different things that.
Well, while you're looking for your page, so what I had found on the internet was a newer thing. It was a bridge and buildings on it, and it had inspired me to create not a city, but a bridge that is a city, and the surrounding areas at night are just extremely dangerous, and you are forced to find or live on this bridge. Anything else,
bridge.
Right? Anything else you do outside of this bridge is at your own risk.
All right, so
have you read William Gibson's novels?
No.
No.
So he wrote Neuromancer, right? Basically he invented the word the internet. Anyway, he has a bridge like this. It's in fact San Francisco. It's the Golden Gate Bridge in his futuristic dystopian city. The bridge becomes a city. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay, cool. So anyway, this whole bridge as a city thing goes way back to Italy, in Florence, and it's called Ponte Vecchio, and it actually means old bridge. And it was spanned over the Arno River in Florence, Italy. And it dates back to 99 AD. And it's one of the first trading places. And they even talk about it being like a Marco Polo. First Asian goods were traded there. And, the word. Now, the other thing I found really interesting about this, and put this on your bridge adventure, take this into your real campaign. I said, I'm going to make it short today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to steal all this shit, by the way.
That's what we do all the time. This bridge would constantly get flooded by the river. Unknown. People would get wiped out all the time. There'd be
they'd have to rebuild.
And they'd have to rebuild the bridge, and people would be devastated over and talk about over and over again. And they would just keep rebuilding this bridge.
They just would decide
over and over again because it was
maybe building on a bridge isn't good.
But I guess it was such.
This reminds me of California.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it became such a point of nuance that they had to keep doing it. I guess it's Vegas. We got to keep.
Yeah.
Got to put the city right here. We got to put it right.
Right.
Here. So magical Q&A wasn't very magical, and I know we had a lot of flubs tonight, so I'll shorten that out.
Thank you.
And we can go to the break. When we come back, it'll be soundtracks.
Yes.
And I got what you need here, baby.
I love it.
What is that strange object in your hand?
What you need. This is Mirror Me. This is Mirror Me to get you to the outer planes. You
What is
wanted
that
to get
physical
Oh, that's
object
what
in
you were
your hand
talking
that you
about.
claim is-
Okay.
is
I remember
magic?
now. Very cool.
All right.
All right, everybody. We'll see you back here in a little bit. Thank you.
13 minutes. 13 minutes. See you
13
then.
minutes.
Oh, it's too easy. Killing off the players, level 1 PC. No longevity. Falling off too high a tree. No more HP. No more HP. You better please. Preparing battlegrounds, level 1's in the crowd. Not many are allowed. One crit could bring them down. So squishy from the mold. They're weak but very bold. Took hours to propose, but seconds to dispose. Who starts this alone? You say it is. Yeah, they'll get ground to great dust.
Hello, Brenda speaking.
Hello, this front desk?
Mm-hmm.
I am Grigory Levushka. I'm 87 years old, and I'm here to this country to visit my great nephew. So I stay at your hotel, yes?
Are you asking if we have availability?
I am not pleased with stay at hotel. Number one.
Oh, you're not, please.
Why
I'm
you
sorry.
why you no clean room? It stink like orc piss in here. Like camp of filth.
I am so sorry. What room are you currently in?
Number two. Next door neighbor bang on walls. Like how you say to owlbears. They fighting. You know, owlbear.
You're in room 2?
And number three. The toilet growls like beast. Is giving me stink eye. It's make very uncomfortable for me, you know? Basically, bushka.
Would you mind continuing this conversation on your room phone?
So you help me? No.
With the housekeeping?
Da? The toilet has teeth. It have teeth. Why have teeth? Is normal?
Yeah.
Is normal.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. If you wouldn't mind coming to the front desk, I wouldn't mind assisting you.
I'd be there as quickly as can. But if
Sounds good.
you follow the sound of what sound like two owlbear making love. On second floor is no good.
All right. See you soon.
Thank.
Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, this is Tolan. Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, I was wondering if you guys might be able to freeze something for me.
What's that?
All right, well, first I just want you to understand what it is, all right? Listen up. Here's what happened. So things went a little haywire up at old Aldor's place the other night. And,
Where?
Up at old Aldor's place.
Okay.
And one of our fellow party members passed away, right? And my whole party is left to go get the cleric to perform the resurrection. So I was thinking maybe you guys can freeze it for like 4 or 5 days.
Freeze what?
Our party member. You know, you could just stick her in the back somewhere. She's real small, won't take up too much space. We could hang her from one of the hooks. She'll look just like a piece of meat.
We probably can't freeze her, but we could probably send her down to Chancellor. We could probably do something with her.
Go send her down where?
Down to Chancellor up the road. Now, what are we talking about? What passed away?
One of our party members. She's real small, halfling, about 4'5".
Oh, yeah. Definitely want to go to Chancellor with that one.
Well, I could be down there in an hour. You know, right now she's kind of smelling like mothballs, but, you know, if we get her in there, everything will be fine.
Well, you know, I don't partake in too much of that. We've tried to do things like that before, and the federal government normally comes in here and swarms in and shuts us down for things like that.
What if I said I'd give you $3,500 up front and nobody's got to know nothing? I could be down there in an hour. I'll throw her in my hatchback. I'll be down there in an hour.
No, we make more than that in 15 minutes around here.
Really? Okay, well, what's
Yeah, well, that ain't worth it to us, I can tell you that.
What number you looking for?
Hey, look, that ain't a number. It can't be bought. We're priceless around here.
Priceless.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's, I'll head on down to the next freezer place, see if they want to make some money.
Take it easy.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey there. Everybody enjoy that break? All right. So I
Welcome
think.
back. I don't hear Amber though.
Oh no.
I see we're back on live. Yeah. Yay!
You can't hear me? Oh no.
There we are.
We are back. You are frozen.
Still
I'm just
can't hear me?
blurry. No, we can hear you, but your video's freezing again.
Oh no.
Just keep talking. We can hear you. I can hear
We can
you.
hear you. We can hear you, but your picture's on your
Different
picture's
thing.
breaking up. It's staggered.
Turn off the live feed on. Who's got the live feed going on Discord?
I think that was
Yeah.
Josh.
Turn off the live feed on Discord. Who's
Yeah,
ever
turn
got
off
it
the
running?
watch stream on Discord.
Yep. All
Thank
right.
you. That might help us.
Yep.
I hope so. Okay. That seems to be helping. Yeah?
Yeah, we didn't need that on when you came back, I think, is what it was.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. We made it.
Welcome
We made
back,
it.
everybody.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed that last song on our break, we have the link in our Dungeon Studios Facebook page if you want to check them out. Starset. All right, so we're here for our topic.
Oh,
Starset.
Can you hear, Doc?
Yeah, I can hear. No, I was going to ask you, was that Splintered Reality? I didn't see the commercial. Was that Splintered Reality before we came back? Was that someone else? Starset. I don't know them. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
All right.
So
That's what I got to check out. Sorry. I apologize.
No problem.
I wanted to
Yeah,
double
there's
check
a
what you
link
were
in the
saying.
Facebook if you want to check them out.
So,
right, so
I came up with this topic. I'm sorry, everybody. I called it soundtracks.
But really,
yeah, please do.
it's not just. I think when we talk about music for D&D, the majority think it's the music that you play in the background during the game, which we can talk about that also. But I think you wanted to talk about music that inspires the game, the session, characters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that is correct. Are we? Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can, Amber, because I feel like we're not synced again, like when we started tonight.
Maybe
So
I'm
a
on
little
a delay
confused. I feel
again. Do we have people in the
I hear
chat
your
can
voice,
tell me?
but you I don't see you talking, Amber. That
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You are in a delay again because I'm getting very confused.
Oh, no. It might be because of that.
Because I started doing the intro and
Report to the nearest tornado shelter.
as a topic, and we had the guests that were musicians, and we did their nerd cred and never actually talked about musical influences in D&D. So I really kind of wanted to get back to that. As some of you saw, I was posting some of my rock and roll DM memes around on Facebook and in the Discord. And I really see prog rock in the 60s and 70s as sort of one of the dawns of influences for me, especially back in the 70s and 80s when I was writing my first adventures. I wrote this thing, Battle Across the Plains, listening to like an old Kansas album with Magnus Opus playing in the background. That sort of stuff influenced a lot of my gameplay as a kid or what characters wanted to be. I mean, how many times am I going to listen to Songs from the Woods now from Jethro Tull before I play my bard? It's just got to happen. So I just feel like for me, whenever I'm playing D&D, I always have some kind of connection to music or rock and roll or something. And then when I started test playing and people started playing music in backgrounds of games and play that, dun, 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 people like, man, to get you all pumped up. I thought, wow, this is even better. This is great. So I thought this is a great topic. Everybody has a different way they use music or listen to music. I know you, Amber, had reached out on Facebook and got a lot of input from people.
Right.
For
And on
different
our
things,
Discord.
too. And our Discord too. So
yeah.
I thought
So,
it was a topic. Go ahead. Go.
Well, so the majority of folks that I talked to about music for D&D, of course, was, the apps and the music that they use for in-game to set the mood.
Right.
I really wanted to try to pinpoint those folks that use music in other ways for D&D.
Right.
And Sophia, who is on our Discord server, she is a voice actor for us. She mentioned that her favorite DM has the players choose a song as their character's theme song, and that whenever they have an important moment in their campaign or they do the finishing blow in combat or anything like that, she will play this music to kind of, I don't know, pump them up. Or I've seen some DMs do this. And
it's very Marvel comic with a superhero having their battle cry too.
Right.
Right.
You know that when you hear this certain theme music, something's about to happen with that character.
That's right. NPCs too, actually. It's quite good for NPCs, especially I use like a lot of classical music in Vampire the Masquerade, especially in live games. Having and
like you do specifically have a music for each.
Oh yeah, like there's songs that became sort of named. We couldn't never remember the actual names of the tracks, but we knew what number they were on certain discs.
Right. Track
like,
12 is this guy, and track
right,
13.
and exactly.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah, and I can find my players make playlists too for their characters. They like to create a whole playlist.
That's
really?
That's what I was going to talk about.
I'm serious. Yeah, they make
for my character. I do the same thing because she's very PTSD traumatized and working through these issues. And Spotify was great for that because it introduces you to a lot of new music. If you set like a playlist and put one or two songs in there, once it gets through the end of the playlist,
the algorithm takes over.
Right. The algorithm starts taking over. And I started finding all this other music that I'd never heard before that the lyrics just spoke to my character. So every time before I head to a session, I'm listening to that playlist and really kind of setting myself in that character's feelings.
This warms my heart. This warms my heart. This is like
the trouble comes when you start recording your games and uploading them to YouTube and streaming, because then you run into copyright issues immediately. And so, I find that a lot of my games are woefully missing music because of this reason. Trying to track down copyright-free stuff.
Well, now I have to say this though. Now, where are you copyright infringing? If you're not charging for someone to watch that service, you're not copyright infringing.
Well, Twitch is charging subscribers. And they're notoriously bad for flagging you for copyright infringement. They flag anybody all the time. We use Sirenscape though. One of my players runs Sirenscape, and he does all he's the disc jockey,
DJ, if you will.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
So that kind of works. But
have you ever considered just writing for permission for some of the stuff that you like to use to see if people would say you could use it? Because a lot of people nowadays are like,
great idea.
Sure. Especially with multimedia. That's how we have our theme show from the game. Josh wrote Motorhead.
Right.
Said, hey, can we use? And they were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So
it's a matter of finding time and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a great idea.
It might be worth it to have some of your own music, or that's kind of a neat.
YouTube gives you a bunch of optional copyright-free music, and I tend to use the same track over and over again, which is a bit tedious, but
Well, now, Russell, do you know that we do have some artists here in Dungeon Studios that make atmospheric music as well? Maybe
I have heard that actually, and
maybe tap into some of them.
To some of them, If any of them are listening, speak up, because I need some copyright-free music to use on my streams and games and things.
And that's what Dungeon Studios is all about, guys. It's artists and creators coming together to work together and create stuff, collaboration. So I know if I got to keep saying it because people don't seem to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come find us on Dungeon Studios, creatives.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
back
so
to
on
soundscapes.
on our server, I might botch this name. It looks like Airrock. It might be Eric. It might be pronounced Eric. Airrock. He mentioned that they listen to music to get inspired for the cultures and societies that he builds in his game.
Right.
He didn't say which music, so I'm assuming if you're listening to, like, I don't know if it's Dunheim, is it, like the Viking music that would really inspire you to, how do you create a Viking society in your game and their feelings and what they do and sound
I really get that too, like from the point of being inspired. Like I used to write screenplays. One particular screenplay I spent like 3 months writing, and I listened to one album, a Lorena McKennitt album, over and over and over on repeat for 3 months solid, and it kind of becomes a soundtrack for you as you're writing. So as a DM, when you're writing your campaigns or your stories, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying to Amber when I wrote Misty Towers. The inspiration was Back in Black, AC/DC, and the original Black Sabbath album, and I just kept flipping back and forth to those two records as I kept writing it because I was making this like haunted house, towery, dark, and I just couldn't get away from it. And then it inspired me because there's interdimensional doors that I sort of made all the different interdimensional doors sort of like armoires to rock and roll music. There's the staircase to the whispering wind in the tower, and little hats off to different music. Oh, there's a room called More Cowbell. Sort of stuff like that in there. It sort of just spice it up because then people recognize these references, and it sort of makes it kind of exciting to be involved with too.
Yeah,
brings back whole feelings and everything.
It very much too depends on which game you're running too. I mean, if it's D&D, personally, I like diegetic music. That is to say, music that's in the story. It's coming from somewhere in the story. You're in a tavern, you hear the music from the tavern, and then theme songs over that, which may or may not be diegetic. But when I'm running Vampire the Masquerade, I feel so much more free to use so many more genres and stuff because you've got all of that history in real life. You're playing in a contemporary setting, so you can draw on anything really. Any genre is now available to you, for everything from classical and opera all the way through to rock and roll and what have you. I personally wouldn't use rock and roll in a D&D game. That's just me, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I just personally as a DM wouldn't do it, but if I was playing in somebody else's campaign and that was the vibe, I would fully go with it. It's just a choice.
That's actually what I was thinking of is, when you're playing D&D, you think, fantasy, medieval, maybe instrumental, but not necessarily modern music. Nicole on Facebook said that whenever they defeat like a big bad evil guy, when they're fighting a BBEG and things are getting tense, maybe people are dying, she'll play Eye of the Tiger. And I know that doesn't necessarily, in a D&D setting, but it gets them pumped up to get together.
It
absolutely depends on the group and the aesthetics that they want and what they, what they appreciate.
Now I just remembered, this isn't in the notes. I think it was it a guy, I forgot his name. He was talking about doing Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche as an adventure. Upright Man.
Oh, was it Upright Man?
Upright Man was talking about taking Operation Mindcrime and turning the whole theme into an adventure, which is very dystopian, and that could fit into vampire, that could fit into cyberpunk.
Right.
That whole thing. I think of Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, with Rail goes through this adventure in this hallucinogenic sort of city atmosphere, could also sort of be thrown into one of those cyberpunk type settings as well.
Right. You guys aware of Bardcore?
No. What's
I
You
bardcore?
haven't heard of bardcore. You can't talk about music in D&D
I
without
I'm gonna
bardcore.
I'm gonna say I know what it is, but I can't say I've like listened.
Okay, so it's like classic pop songs done in a instrumental bardic
Yes,
medieval
yes,
fashion with all medieval instruments,
yes,
right?
yes.
I
Hilarious.
love
It's
it.
fucking
So is this a
hilarious.
YouTube channel or what is this?
It's a
Bardcore.
genre.
It's a
It's a
genre.
genre.
Okay.
It's a genre. And actually, I was just at a thing yesterday, and there's a Kona ice truck there, and it was sort of the same similar thing. It was all pop music, only it was all Jamaican music box.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God! I was like, what the hell am I listening to? But that would be
Wow.
the same type of thing.
There's a YouTuber. Oh, what is his name? Is it YouTube D&D Shorts or something? He does like D&D rap videos, rap
Yes,
songs.
yes,
like
yes, yes.
Total Party Kill.
Yes, yes.
One of his songs.
Yeah, they does have some good songs out there. I do agree. There are some.
But I mean, a little bit of a divergence, but it's related.
No,
It's
it's
adjacent,
it's totally related. It's
Well, and
all
this is something
soundscapes.
that when I went out to the interwebs to ask people about, music and D&D, I said, what about the reverse? What about D&D inspiring you to make music? Just like you mentioned with
Right.
Bardcore.
Right.
The last episode that we had, Splintered Reality, which Doc mentioned, was in our intermission, and everybody was like, man, this music is so great. I hadn't heard about it. I didn't know about it, but please check them out. splinteredreality.com. They
Splintered
take
Reality.
a lot of D&D elements or fantasy elements, tabletop role-playing game elements, and put them into like rock music, like hardcore rock.
I have
It
a
was
player
great.
named James in one of my games who is consistently posting in my Discord server about posting links to audio clips that he's produced, anthems for different scenes and characters in the games that we've been playing. He writes them himself.
Wow,
and then
that's awesome.
He puts them together using electronic tools, but and they're really good. It's great, and he spends time doing that. It's amazing.
Now, when across, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well,
Evan.
I was just going to say, I'd never heard of that. I guess if you have a creative in your party who can create music like that, someone else mentioned it. Yes, it was Krista on Facebook said she commissioned music to be created for her players. And then Lillian on Facebook said the same thing. Her players actually write their own music for their characters and share it with the group. I think that's fantastic.
I once had a game. In fact, there's a clip on YouTube called "How to Bard" on my YouTube channel, and I'm DMing and I'm playing a halfling, and the player, it's just one-on-one. The other player, he's playing a bard called Saranth, and he makes up a song on the spot, and I just join in with him. I mean, I'm not a musician or anything. I can sing a little bit, but my screen seems to have frozen. But
just keep going.
Yep, there you go. It unfreezes.
Never worry about
it's like I think it's like a 10-minute clip, and it's basically these two bards in a tavern. There's a song and how to bard. I think it's hilarious. But anyway, and he's an actor and a musician, so he's not. I'm not going to say he's not bad. He's fucking good. He's really good.
I think soundtracks are really important too. I talked about Magical Q&A way back about esophageal frequencies. Which are related to music and the frequencies at which you receive signals, and that these esophageal frequencies actually set off different brain functions. It set off euphoria and set off endorphins and all different types of things.
Creativity.
And I think you can do that with music in your games. You can really set the mood and set people's brains where you want them by having a tone or something playing, and it does work. I've used those for Ravenloft myself just to get my players like skitzed out.
Do you like spend, because I've done this where you play something for a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes before the game session starts, and you get everyone to sit down and shut up and listen.
Right. And then you just do some mind's eye. You have them just close their brain and say, picture nothing, whatever you see in your mind's eye with the music, and then you come back to the game. And
We've
it's
done
sort of-
love scenes like that too, where we've played love songs in the middle of a vampire game where characters were falling in love, and we just stopped the game and we sat down and we just in the dark with the candles listened to one or two tracks, and we all wept. You know, music can bring out those emotions that you don't get that in D&D very often.
No, you don't. And it gives pause. I think a lot of times in D&D, it's like, hey, pass me the devil dog, or who's got the smokes. Something else in that atmosphere to help keep that story in the brains and the images of everyone going.
Yeah.
To make it really feel alive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring up one other. I wanted to bring up one other band. I don't know what they're called. Have you heard of Black Mages?
No.
They're not a new band. I think it's like 2010 was the last time they put anything out. But if you're into video games, especially Final Fantasy, which I am, Black Mages is made up of 3 different video game music composers, including Nobuo Uematsu, I hope I said that right, which is the main composer for Final Fantasy. And they took all the video game music and turned it into like rock, instrumental rock songs, and they are fantastic to listen to. Very hypey, if you want to get hyped for a battle or what have you. So I wanted to just share that because I love them.
Right.
I've been actually noticing a lot of video game melodies in some pop music of my daughters recently. I'm like, gosh, I know that's an old Nintendo beat. I know it.
Do you have like go-to albums for D&D or go-to soundtracks that you'll run if you have to put something on?
You mean during a game?
Yeah.
I am not a big soundtrack person because I have not gotten it all working out through my Zoom yet. To be completely honest, and
it doesn't work well on Zoom because when people are talking,
yeah,
that's the issue with Zoom for soundtracks for sure. But
for my game, especially in one area because it's like a deserty, tribal area, I use a lot of. I can't remember the name of the game right now. I use a lot of Witcher soundtracks.
Yeah, me
There's
too.
another one. They just made it into a movie. Shoot, it's like Nate's Theme is the name of the song. I can't remember the video game, but anyway, all deserty themes.
So here's the interesting one. I get together with our guys on Thursday night, and I get together with the DM for the Red Death thing, and he's like, hang on, I'm testing out the music on Zoom. So he's playing Shock the Monkey. So, I'm playing an organ grinder that has a monkey, right? And he's testing out Shock the Monkey as the music. I'm like, oh, fuck. He goes, oh, that's for next week.
Oh, no. So now you know something's coming.
Next week. No, and he did tell us this, too. He said, next week we're going to play in real time. Ooh. So it's going to be a 2.5 hour session, and the game is going to be 2.5 hour event. So I'm kind of intrigued. So now you were talking about the Japanese composers and the video games. I have to say too, one of my players, Greg, talk about, I'm not a paid DM. Greg, I know from college, plays my Thursday and my Chronic Explorers. He let me into his music server, and he's a big metal fan. There are dozens and dozens of metal bands that are influenced by Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I'm not that familiar with them, so I don't want to start just guessing names and saying things, but I've been listening to tons of that music now just because I can find one in an instant, Battle of the Dragon. I mean, there's so many bands that have been influenced by the game now. That I'm seeing a wash over on the other side, like all these different people that are influenced by the game, and it's going into their music, so it's kind of neat too.
It's funny that you brought that up because as we're gonna now move into the weekly world building segment, Sophia, the voice actor for Dungeon Studios, she gave me 2 examples, and she listens to metal. and the lyrics in certain songs that inspired her character choices. So I find it interesting that metal has been heavily inspired by D&D, and now D&D is getting heavily inspired by metal. And if you think about it, the lyrics, I mean, for metal songs, they go pretty deep and dark, and you can just find a lot of material there. So Sophia, she mentioned that she was listening to November's Doom. I listen to metal, but I'm bad with names. So if you know them, awesome. I don't know them. But November's Doom, Nephilim, I'm going to pronounce that wrong, Nephilim Grove. She said she was thinking how cool it would be to make an ASMR who is like a Nephilim. So she leaned into the lyrics. Enter the grove where the Nephilim roam. I am the shepherd of the butcher's design. We paint the devil with a golden tone. Follow me, I know the way. So she said this is clearly related to the Nine Hells, and that her character is going to be on the side of the devils. And that's when she came up with the backstory detail that one of her ancestors became a fallen ASMR because he started serving Dispater. And she found one of their relics and became interested in becoming a part of his legion. And since the lyrics also say, bleach the earth with death and smite, she started her character off as a paladin. So that is like just one of her examples how using the lyrics can really inspire a character choice or a story.
Yeah.
So the other one, this one's great.
And you know what's cool about that too is it's a story without that much story.
Right.
Like players don't need to have a gabillion novel before you start adventuring. You just need some nice stuff.
Some
Go ahead.
anchors.
Yeah, some anchors. Go ahead.
Right. So the second inspiration was from a song called Swallow the Sun, also metal, called 10 Silver Bullets. One of the first lines goes, and she who stands on his left side with a burning spear. So her brain just thought immediately of a flame-tongued spear. And then she continued, straight into the heart, my love, 10 silver bullets, but I won't shed a tear for you, won't cry for mercy, none from you. Blessed be the ones who do not feel. For you the heavens are open. Such is the nature of the heartless. And for us who treat it in the dark, the road goes on forever. So, because of the repetitive burning motif, she figured she's a fire genasi fighter with a flame-tongued spear, and the rest of the lyrics about the silver bullets made her create a backstory where she was a slave for a ruler and fell in love with a werewolf gladiator who was one fight away from winning his freedom before they deliberately killed him with silver bullets. So then she took her father's spear and didn't give up until they led her into the arena to fight against the mummy that killed her man.
What was this girl's name? What was this
This is
person?
Sophia on our Dungeon Studios.
Sophia, thank you, because now I've gave them a star in my server. I found them. I have found the Swallow the Sun. They have a bunch of albums out.
You're going to start listening to them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they are listed as melodic doom metal. And that becomes the other thing. There's melodic metal, there's doom metal, there's transmorphic metal, there's
so much
symphonic metal, there's and you get into symphonic metal, a lot of that is all like Paladin, D&D, super inspiring music. And Russell, that's where I say reach out to some of those people. They'd love to have their music played. Right. I mean, they need an avenue for their music to be played.
Right. Need some exposure. Yeah, for sure.
It's out there. I mean, it's a huge explosion in soundtracks for D&D. Here it comes. And it started right here on the game, baby.
Bring it on.
Right here on the game. So
and for anyone who's interested, I got to spend about an hour interviewing Sophia, and her interview will be in the next issue of Eneron Chronicles. So look forward to that.
Nice. She's the next interview. That's even
nice.
Right.
So now we had this. I've been teasing you with the CD.
Yes.
The CD.
Do people even know what that is anymore? A CD? Like, what does that do?
Only people our age.
Okay. So What this CD is now, Russell. This is from Planescape. This is second edition.
Okay.
Player's Primer to the Outlands. Have you ever heard of that book?
I have not heard of that book.
Okay.
I have not.
So this came out in the late 90s, 95. And basically what this is, the Outlands are set up as like this ring around going into the plane, right? So you can go into the outer planes from the astral plane, sort of set up like that.
Right.
Mirror Me is a skull. And Mirror Me is the skull on the cover of the CD. And this has something like 41 tracks.
Wow.
And Mirror Me introduces each plane of existence.
Okay.
So Mirror Me is sort of like a tour guide to the planes of existence. And we had the Forever DM was a guest with us a few months ago. And he was talking about this book and how much he loved this book. And he didn't know a CD existed for it.
So the CD, it's not music then. It's speaking.
It's speaking. It's a voice actor doing this skull. And then there's all kinds of like sound effects depending on like what plane they end up being on.
Right.
They end up in Toth's estate, Iron Ridge, Rigus, Ribcage, Plague Mort, Zeos, The Great Pass, Lost. So then they introduce different characters and BBEGs and things like that. So it's kind of neat to use a CD with sound voice. We have lots of voice actors. This is another thing in a game. Is kind of this was a really unique game when I ran this back in the 90s. To have a CD and they had to like get the number and which number was speaking to them, and it was very, very intense. So another thing to bring up about soundtracks.
I would love though if someone did have a CD of instrumental music for each plane, because that's what I thought you were telling me it was at first.
No, that's
you could look at the music of the spheres.
Music of the spheres.
Classic music, but it's based on the planets and the alchemical formulas of the planets. But you could adapt them fairly easily to a lot of the planes because they have elemental attributions. You have to know your Kabbalah.
Okay.
Now, Wendy Carlos or Walter Carlos, who did the soundtrack for Clockwork Orange, did a lot of pioneer electronic music, also did this thing called The Planets, and redid all of that classical planet music in electronic format.
Cool.
So you can go right to, whatever you want to do, Gamma World or classical. You have the same soundtrack either way. Right. It's kind of neat.
That is cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Lots of music out there. I can't even, I keep thinking about like Heavy Metal, the movie. What that did for role playing, that was huge. Blue Oyster Cult wrote specifically with Michael Moorcock. And we know Michael Moorcock wrote the Elric novels, and he had Hawkwind. So again, rock and roll influencing D&D and fantasy influencing rock and roll. It just keeps going back and forth. And Marvel, man, I'm wondering what they are paying rock bands for music now, because they own a lot of music for their.
Oh yeah.
Actually, another good avenue, if you like more classical stuff, is there are a lot of choirs. Church choirs do a lot of really good stuff as well.
Yes, very true.
Like who am I thinking of? Monks, basically. Monks singing.
The Gregorian chanting.
Gregorian
chants are just
yes.
And Russell, that goes back to when we talk about the esophageal frequencies, and this goes back to that time period, that 99, when they didn't want this musical knowledge to be out to the public, and the monks were using it to control people. I mean, they basically use tones to get people to do work and things. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, sorry, I'm going to make you guys do work right now. So.
Oh no, it's time. It's time for building.
It's time for world building. So I thought I grabbed a few song lyrics and I want to just read them to you, and you tell me what inspiration that gives you, whether it's for, a game in the game, a character, a society, a building.
Not looking at your notes. I'm not
Okay.
looking at your notes.
All right. So Luke Gygax on Twitter just recently shared Cult of Personality. Great song. The lyrics, pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name, but what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. What does that inspire you in you?
I don't even need to wait. Russell, do you need some time? Because I can go right on that one right there.
I got something to say, but it's I don't know. There's two ways I can interpret this. First of all, I mean, immediately I remember the movie Interview with a Vampire, because it was in that movie. If I'm not wrong. So of course I think of Lestat, don't I? And so there's that, and of course that feeds directly into Vampire the Masquerade. So that's not hard to kind of connect the dots there. I would have to think a bit harder about how I would use it in a D&D game. So I'll let you go back to Dr. Pletorius for a moment.
So I've been working on this adventure I'm calling A Basement Full of Arcane Secrets, and I am not caring about CR. Just putting stuff in there, and it's going to be hell or high water. And just when you say those lyrics, I'm thinking there's got to be just a room with some, wet black paint, just totally bizarre, kind of surreal way to use it. Not the place is already insane, so it would sort of give that genre where maybe they find someone who's just painting the room black.
Okay.
Just like, or maybe there's a sitar playing, and like different sort of trigger someone else's memory a different way, in a way to use it that way.
Okay.
It's the first thing I think of.
Yeah. For me, I felt like I took it very literally, and I was like, oh, what if you're in a room? Maybe you're like I think of like a heist, a gala heist, right? And you find the secret room, and there's a puzzle you have to figure out to find the hidden thing. But the answer to the puzzle is someone's name, someone that's at the party, or maybe it's the owner of the house. It's his daughter that you didn't even know existed. But if you did some, finding out during the heist, you might know what the name is to open the secret thing.
Okay.
So interesting how all three of us are inspired differently by these lyrics. All right, next set of lyrics.
Strahd, of course, next.
Oh, anyway. What?
I was just saying, obviously with the whole vampire connection that I made earlier, that then feeds into D&D via
Curse of Strahd.
Ravenloft, Curse of Strahd. Strahd as a character, it could be his theme.
Right. Well,
absolutely.
Like, lyrics don't have to inspire you as directly as it did me. I mean, the fact that it inspired you about Lestat, you could then be inspired to create, a vampire character that's very confident and, the way he is.
Yeah.
All right. So next set of lyrics.
Okay.
This is called Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree.
Oh my gosh.
Right? 100 yellow ribbons round the old oak tree. I'm coming home. What does that inspire you in any way for something?
I'm thinking
that you can put in
straight
a game?
off the bat, druids come to mind, maypoles come to mind.
Yeah.
Villages in high places with vast meadows of flowers, and actually, have you seen that movie with Christopher Lee in it, recently redone with Nicolas Cage, Wicker Man?
I haven't seen that.
They redid that?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage did a remake.
Oh, I have to see. I have not seen the remake of that. Ooh,
I can't say it's better.
Right.
I can't say it's worse either, to be fair, because there was a lot wrong with it the first time, but. But it's an interesting film, and it's you should watch it. It's related to D&D in a kind of tangential way.
What about you, Doc? Any ideas?
No. What do you have? What do you have?
For me?
Yes.
So, in the wars, when they would tie the ribbons to welcome their soldiers home, I thought about creating a session where my players come across a town. And before they even get to the town, there are some kind of colorful ribbons tied around the nearby trees. but they come to find out that like these soldiers, or whoever they are, have never come home, and there's some kind of a mystery around this town why these people keep going missing. But these ribbons are kind of the first clue that they're heading into an area where something is happening and they don't know what that is.
All right, so I'm gonna go on a completely different tact here. The first thing I thought was a dwarf, and he's got it totally wrong. Maybe his name is like Tony Orlando is the dwarf's name, right? Because you got to take it right from the song, and he's tying yellow ribbons like for some completely wrong reason. Like he keeps maybe he doesn't because he thinks he's gonna find his way home. Like it's a map. Like just some stupid reason why he's doing it. I don't know. That's the first thing.
So just random people come across ribbons and they don't know what they're there for.
It's like we got to tie a ribbon here. No, he's just like, we're in this dungeon. We better tie a yellow ribbon.
I love it.
And then, go deeper into the, better tie a yellow ribbon here. We're going to tie.
I feel like there's got to be some kind of motive for the tying of the ribbon. There needs to be some kind of symbol.
Yeah, I got to look into the lyrics.
The color of the
I would look into I think I would look into the lyrics of the song some more. And find something deeper into the lyrics. Maybe it says something about his love, so he would talk about his wife or something.
Also, it mentions an oak tree, and there's a lot of symbology related to oak trees too that you can easily look into and follow.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
So it's not any other kind of tree. It's an oak tree, and it's a yellow ribbon. There's 3 very specific symbols there that juxtaposed against each other may be more than the sum of their parts.
I like that.
That is true. Don't put the blame. Now you got me looking at the lyrics.
Yeah.
I talk about a bus driver. I'm really still in prison, and my love, she holds the key. A simple yellow ribbon. That's what I need to set me free. See? It could go along with the dwarf right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry.
I love this.
Going down that road, now you're sort of starting to suggest a simple yellow ribbon to set me free, some kind of prisoner or emotional prisoner even, It could be.
And again, we don't want to insult anyone from the Iran war, from the Iranian hostage crisis, if you're still alive from those days.
Right.
When we did actually tie yellow ribbons around trees, because, I don't know, we thought that would actually do something. So.
I love you, Doc. Okay. Next set of lyrics. So I thought I'd take something from Mos Def and his song Mathematics. This might be hard. Crack mothers, crack babies, and AIDS patients. Young bloods can't spell, but they could rock you at PlayStation. Why did one straw break the camel's back? Here's the secret. The million other straws underneath it. It's all mathematics. Does any of that inspire in you something that you could do with D&D?
The first line, when you were reading the first opening lines of it, I was thinking Orcan Empire, smashed townships, smashed villages, burning dead babies. It was very dark. And then as you continued, it suddenly became more contemporary with the PlayStation stuff and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, that's not going to work.
Right.
So that's where I left it.
And it's funny because that's where I kind of saw it go surreal to the part where this thing, what you're talking about, that battle, is like a plaything for people watching. People are watching this,
right?
And it's actually on top of something else because it's talking
like
about something
metatextual kind of.
Yeah, and then they were talking about something underneath mathematical was going to collapse or fall apart. So maybe
the mathematics is the dice.
I was thinking about something underneath is going on, like spiritually. Maybe there's like a temple that you have to release something to stop the battle above.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought. There's something going on down here that will stop everything, the chaos. You can't control this up here, but if you can see the game and then get underneath the game and go into the workings, you can figure it out. That's kind of what I got out of it.
Within a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
dream within a dream.
What I ended up taking away from it was that, crack mothers, crack babies, AIDS patients. In my brain, I took it as a campaign where maybe the BBEG or Minions or what have you are like doing some kind of a like testing on, slaves, or they're capturing
I kind of had that feeling too when
Right?
you were saying crack babies and all that stuff. I
Doing
would say
some
that
kind of
too, yeah.
medical testing, if you will, that goes awry, and these people
Experimenting.
kind of rise up and have better powers, and those are the superheroes of this story. That's how I took it. So
Very nice.
yeah, so 3 examples, folks, of how you can take pretty much any old lyrics. You could just grab anything. We had 3 different song styles or genres, and somehow come up with something that you can put in your D&D game. And there's a wealth of songs out there, so you just go out there, listen to something.
Right.
Was there a reason you picked Most Def? Can I
No
ask?
reason. I just kind of, like I said, went out there randomly. I wanted to make sure I grabbed different genres, so it's not just. I could have grabbed something that was metal. I didn't even think about it, but
Right.
I was just wondering.
yeah. Everybody listens to
Yeah,
something different, so I wanted to point out that no matter what you listen to, you can find inspiration.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Sorry, I was looking at something. Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
Well, no, I was just going to say, to the chat and to the people that listen to us, share some of your examples. Come find us on Dungeon Studios if you're not in the chat, and tell us what you've heard and what inspired you.
Wow, I can't believe it. We made it to the end of a rough one.
It's been
a rough show, but Russell, thank you. This is our first 3 of us.
Yes.
Right? So
I made it this time.
We made
Sorry
it.
about that.
More to come.
Last time I was crises emerged at the last minute and could not be dealt with immediately.
And Amber, hats off to solo performance.
Thank
again,
you.
For you.
Yeah.
That time. So very nice job. We want to thank all our couple listeners out there. And if you listen to us afterwards, we want to thank you too. Because I know I'm an afterwards listener. I know in East Coast, I would not be listening to this live at 1 a.m. So again, thank you, those people. Make sure you hit our follows and support us on Facebook. Come see us at Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and you can hear us. We can hear us on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. It's like
check out the links below.
Exactly.
In the doobly-doo.
In the doobly-doo. We know who that is.
So again, I'm gonna do my outro, which is
right.
remember, no matter how you start out, you always start out odd, but with a little effort and creativity, you will always roll initiative with the prime advantage. So keep that in mind, everybody.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night. It was nice
an
talking to you,
honor,
Russell.
and thank you. It's been an honor to be with you, to be here talking to you guys tonight.
And does anybody have any ideas for next week? Just before we go, I'm gonna put you all on the spot.
Yep.
Us three. Any ideas for a show? Because we haven't heard anything from our fandom. And
I have ideas. I just got them in a list, so we could pick through them.
What do you got on your burner? Tell us one, so we can give some teases. What are you thinking about? Some teasing.
Okay.
Let's tease them a little bit. With a tease.
Here's a tease. I've been trying to craft a skill challenge that involves a colossal creature, and not necessarily that you have to kill it, but that there's some objective involved, and you're trying to deal with this colossal creature without getting killed. So I thought maybe talking about colossal creatures and how we use them in the games and skill challenges, something to that effect.
Sounds perfect. Perfect. I think skill challenges and skill checks is a great topic for us to get into. How we all deal with it in our games and skill checks. There it is, everybody.
There we go. All right. Have a good night. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.